today.
Hi.
Dr. AI's Behind the AI, um, where we were just kind of chatting a little earlier and realized that we're all New York natives, basically.
Yes.
You're currently based in the Bahamas based on your virtual background.
Exactly. Project.
Yeah, so obviously, founder to founder, this is going to be a super, super interesting and just hopefully a support call, really.
Okay. Sounds good.
um, I will kick it off and just go with, just give everybody, our audience, a quick intro about your name, your company, and where you're from.
Okay. So I am Adira Romulo. I am the founder of Fairfare, which is a direct booking ride hail platform. So think of it as a one-stop shop for booking a ride hail. Started it because I was frustrated living in New York. I had, at the time, New York City had about 8 ride hail companies, and I probably had all 8 on my phone. And I was toggling one day trying to get, back from a friend's house in Jersey, and everything was like surging because it was raining. And I had to like shut off my phone to reboot it because they have the algorithms to know how long it takes for you to get to another app and then come back. So they the price was insane. And so I had to do all this just to get like a decent price. And I was so angry. And I went on Facebook and I said, does anyone know of an app where we can just look at all the prices and just book our ride? And everyone was like, no, but that's a good idea. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'm going to create it. So that's what I did. I'm originally born and raised in Philadelphia. So I was 18 and then moved to New York for college, and recently left New York due to the pandemic, but it's always 2 homes. I'm still there
Yeah,
often. So yeah.
yeah, I hear you. Well, that was a very sort of a nice impetus or like an origin story, right?
Hmm.
Usually we're almost kind of thinking of like new ways to solve for either the same problem differently or old problems that have never been solved or even recognized by people. So I really love how, I can totally relate in some ways, but obviously those pain points for you is like felt firsthand.
Yes.
Um, so you kind of touched on it a little bit, but I would be very curious about. I mean, we all give pitches every day, right? Like millions.
All the
Do
time.
you have a favorite version, or maybe like a pitch that you use, like so even an 80-year-old can understand it?
Yes, I think my favorite version, which was actually given to me recently, because sometimes I can be a bit too cerebral and get lost in the sauce. Because my background is in international affairs, so I get into the nitty gritty of things. Um, so just a one-stop shop platform to book a ride. I think that is it's very simple, easy to the point. Everyone knows what that is. I was like, I only have to go here to get a ride. Perfect. So
Yep, yep. So that's fascinating. You said that the pitch was given to you.
yeah, I mean that tagline
Yeah.
was actually like suggested by a mentor that I'm in with the China CKGSB, which is a business school in China. I'm in the program, China startup, and the director of the program was like, just say it's a one-stop shop. You don't have to give so much information. And I like to give, I'm like one of those people that's like, I want you to have all the information so you can make the right decision. I don't want to withhold anything. And it's just like, no, I don't need all of that. I'm really trying to just give you money. Give me what are we doing here? So
Make it easier for me to cut you a check.
exactly, exactly. I don't need to get a dictionary to give you money. So that he would just say that, and especially when you're pitching to an international audience, it's like simplify, 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 because English isn't everyone's first language, and
Yep.
so it worked really well. When I pitched a couple times and used it, like they understood very
Love
quickly.
it.
So
Love it. I mean, I think you probably know this. Cerebral, like probably like just, I'm a nerd, so I'm always forehead deep in like papers,
yes,
always reading. And those things are so dense. And you think
yeah,
you're starting to think about like, okay, well, there's a little bit of like the curse of knowledge because you know your thing very well.
yeah,
And then you want to give people a complete download, right? And
yeah.
I think at some point they I don't know, they meaning like the general public,
Public,
they have
yeah.
consensus, but like they said that the reason why Einstein had made the concept of relativity so accessible, even when he was like way before his time, right?
Yeah.
Was that he was an excellent communicator in making dense concepts and
Simple.
hard topics simple and easy to understand.
Exactly.
So I love that tagline. That's totally working.
Yes.
So yes, you mentioned that there's this pain point, especially in metro hubs, metro areas like New York. Are there any reasons why? Like, did you hear from others who obviously definitely shared the same problems, same issues, right? That made you want to like, this is what I'm going to work
Um, I mean, previous to, I don't know what it is with me in transportation, probably because I love going. I do. And I always am looking for the most efficient route of getting to a place. Like, I'm not a person that is, as I get older, especially with a child, I'm like, I'm more so looking like, is this easy? You can charge me whatever, but as long as it's easy, you know? And I'd rather pay for ease as opposed to save money and then I'm irritated the entire time because I'm like, this is so inefficient. Like I could have been there. So I worked on a project in Kenya previously. I'm a dual citizen, Kenyan American, and it was getting packages to the rural community at a price point that Kenyans could afford.
on?
And your average Kenyan, not, those who live in fancy houses and things. So average salary there, $900 a year. And so I said, I was working there and I said, where's your mail? People were like, we don't get mail. I'm like, what? I'm like, what do you mean you're going all the way to town with all these chickens? I'm like, no one can like deliver them, like literally, and so, and they're like, yeah, this is what we do. I'm like, it's a lot of work. You could be doing other things while the chickens are being delivered to you. So I came up with a concept of, basically courier service, utilizing what I called, it's really funny, I called it the drug dealer model, because I had been reading these like articles about drug dealers in Mexico, and like the guy Joaquin Phoenix, who like became a billionaire from like, and he had just a crazy network, and they did this write up on him. And I'm like, that's brilliant, like you gotta give credit where it's due. I mean, he was able to move things very efficiently. Yeah. And so I looked at that, and I'm like, okay, so we need to have hubs, and this is how we move this to there and make it affordable. And it did really well, but terrorism happened. Al-Shabaab came, and all the investors pulled out. But then I got into Fairfare, which is also a movement, and people were like, what about the last mile? Like last mile things are really difficult. Or even in cities when people are on the trains coming from a Trader Joe's or something, yeah, and they live in a place like East New York or Queens where there's no trains, and you got to walk a mile to your house, and you have these bags. So like those were other things. I was like, oh yeah, Fairfare could help with that, because we could say, okay, this is where the train is ending. You could pull up a Fairfare right there in the city and get to your house quickly with all your bags or what have you.
You're literally just superbly positioned
Yeah.
right now, right? Like
yeah.
Kind of movement, like you're saying, logistics, transparency of that movement, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you don't know, you won't know how to move from one point to the next. That's perfect. Wow. Yeah. So as we probably are in the same boat with so many things that we're trying to do, traction, progress, all that other good stuff, right? Do you have anybody on your speed dial for support? Who's your founder hotline to just get your mental health day on?
My advisors. I use my advisors a lot. I do when I'm just kind of like playing with an idea or the best way to go about something or where to spend money. I use my advisors. I have and early investors, like people who invested as soon as I came up with the idea, like friends and family, and have been sticking by, and like because people think with startups, as like, oh, it's Facebook, it's Google, you should have all the money right away. And it's just like, dude, you know how long it took them to get to this point? Like it took literally like 10 years, So it's the same thing as if you wanted to be a lawyer at a firm and reach partner. It generally takes 10 years, 8 to 10 years. So, I mean, in any professional position where you like kind of get to that mastery level, it's a good 8 to 10 years, So It's like, no, I don't have all the money at all. So, so, so yeah, I use my advisors because they are in different industries. Like I have a former CMO of Kayak as one of my advisors, former TLC commissioner of New York City is one of my advisors, and then just a really good friend who just believes in me and who's really smart, and just, you know, I bounce stuff off him all the time, and he's like, oh no, I wouldn't do that, and he helps me to kind of also he's like, no, that sounds kind of scammy, don't work with that person, or like help me with the scam factor of things, because he works in like social work and psychology, so he's really good. He's always looking for that, basically, and so he can pinpoint it where I'm just like, oh really, oh okay, you know. So yeah.
They can just give you quick answers to probably answers that, you know, that you didn't even actually know what to look for, right?
Exactly.
And so important to have these key players on this journey, which can get super lonely.
Yes.
Because they're also, we're also kind of drowning a lot of cliches or expressions. And then sometimes that tend to kind of obscure what's actually happening in reality. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, this is kind of like the perfect question to end on. I can already sense that, like, your energy is super high.
Yes,
You've been working on this for a long time, and, you know, it's definitely on the right track. What is, at any given point, like, you know, good day, bad days, and whatever, what's the favorite part about your day? What do you like most about being a founder, doing what you're doing?
I think I really like the learning, and the strategizing to see, like, I kind of do like this inner competition, like with myself. It's so bizarre, but like, it really is like, okay, I'm in a competition with like Uber, right? And I don't like look at any other founder. Like there can be, you know, you have your competitors, whatever. I pay zero attention to my competitors, right? Zero. Like I don't care. Like zero attention. But like I'll look at Uber and I'll see like what their overall strategy is, and I'm like, you should make that move because that is this, and it'll like happen, and I'm like, yes, you know. So, and it's because I'm so into the nitty gritty, and like I'm able to see where like big companies in the rideshare space are missing things because they're too big and they're not really understanding how their market works anymore, and so they're more so concerned with their shareholders, but not really how the business operates and really grows. It's such a disconnect. And being in like the space that I am now is like, I have to kind of like be on both sides, you know, like I have to think high, macro and micro. And I enjoy that, like figuring out those problems, because it helps me with Fairfare and showing my value add as a platform, because often the ride hail companies be like, oh, we can't compete with Uber, we don't want to be on your platform.
Right.
But me seeing things like in the nuances and the details and things that they may have missed, or understand like, dude, you're throwing away $5 billion a year on marketing. If you use us, we become a way more efficient marketing tool because we know why people are riding, when they're riding, and who they're choosing. So I can tell you why you did not get that ride and your competitor did, so that you can change what it is that you're doing to aid in your customer retention. Yep. You know, and so it's like those sorts of things. I really enjoy the like strategy part. Yep. And trying to, and also like getting that, like being such a, like, it's like David and Goliath. It's like trying to like securing big partners as a small founder. You're like, yes, you know, I think I get a big kick out of that. Like I did that, just my little old self, you know, like in a little office, you know? So I think that is like, that's always like really fun. That's the fun part for me.
Love it.
It seems so impossible. You're like, they're not going to talk to me. It's like, you did talk to me and I did have the answer. That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, can you not love that? Speaking like a true growth mindset person, right? Like, and I think we're always swimming in data. And you brought up a really good point. It's not how much data or what kind of data, but it's like through which lens are you looking at the same old data?
Exactly.
And where does this insight and the intel actually surface out of?
Exactly.
So, well, that was, you just gave me like a really good kick on today's Tuesday for the rest of the week. Like I got fuel now for the rest of the day.
Good, yes.
Thank you so much. So
thank you.
I can't wait to obviously talk offline, online, in the Zoom,
Exactly.
and really track the great progress that you're making with Fairfare. This is Ivy Michelle for Founder AI, and this is another episode Behind the AI. Thanks,
Right.
Adaro.
Thank you.
Keep it going.